Can we hear from the gentleman from the EPA and just talk about how large of an area are we talking about that you all are monitoring right now? Are you able to come to the microphones? I mean, we just got this alert from GEMA saying that letting folks know that you're monitoring. So talk about how large that area is.
Yeah, so our monitoring has been done in kind of three locations, right? One is right directly on site. We're doing air monitoring to protect worker personnel that are in the zone, that are helping to remove parts of the building and helping to stop the reactions that are ongoing. We're also doing air monitoring in the evacuation zone that was established in Rockdale County, as well as in their shelter-in-place zone, which was the entirety of the county. And then we're slowly expanding out from there. So we've been working our way north as the wind shifts or something like that. So we're trying to cover as best we can the areas that are potentially impacted. We're now getting some calls through various EMAs that are helping us identify areas that we can go and try and identify what the odor complaint may be and how that might be impacting people in that area.
We've heard a lot about chlorine. What are you all finding when you're testing this?
So the primary constituents that we're worried about are chlorine or hydrochloric acid. Both of those are given off in this reaction that's kind of ongoing at the site. We're seeing very little chlorine or HCl outside of within the immediate range of the site itself.
Is there any concern for people who may be in sensitive groups, people who are immunocompromised or have other chronic health issues, if they are exposed to any of this?
Sensitive groups can always, they're called a sensitive group. So they can be more sensitive to chlorine or HCl if they were exposed, but we're not seeing levels. Most of our action levels that we use try to account for sensitive groups as well. So we're not seeing any of those levels right now, but that is always a concern that there may be a sensitive population that could be impacted during an event like this.
There's just a lot of skepticism in the community about just kind of what kind of testing is being done. Can you just kind of speak to what kind of testing we're doing, what that looks like? Can you try to maybe reassure some people that are really skeptical?
Sure. So right now we're using air monitors. So they're a live read instrument, right? We get data from them every second. And we're able to, some of them are set up stationary, some of them we're taking around with us so that we can go to locations that either have odor complaints or locations where there may be sensitive populations, so that we can get real-time data back to inform decisions. So earlier today, we used that real-time data to help inform Rockdale County that maybe they could shrink their shelter-in-place orders or shrink their evacuation orders to try and target where the plume is going. So we are using the two instruments that we're using. There's a single point monitor, which we use for detecting hydrochloric acid, and then we're using ray systems to monitor for chlorine gas.
And moving into the evening, how are you tracking the plume? I'm sure you're looking at weather forecasts and staying on top of that, but ultimately, where do you think it's headed and where does your work turn to from here?
So during the day, it's easier to track than at night, but we do look at the forecast, and then we can track it with our roving monitors as well to try and kind of determine if we're still in the plume or not. Things change. Every now and then you'll have an inversion either in the evening or in the morning, and so things will sit lower or the winds will shift. When we try to keep up with that, that's part of the reason that we have stationary monitors in place, so we can deploy around an area so that we can try and catch it before as it moves, and then roll our roving monitoring in that direction instead.
We're getting, emails from folks saying, there's clouds hanging over their neighborhoods, or like a mixed neighborhood, but also smells bad. So if it's not hazardous, what exactly is in this cloud that's causing that smell?
Yeah, so sometimes you're able to smell chlorine at level. It has a very low odor threshold, so you may be able to smell it at a level that is below what would be considered an action level for us, or that would be considered hazardous to an individual. So that tends to be what they're experiencing. I can't speak for all of the complaints because we haven't investigated all of them, but we do try. But typically it's that there's a very low odor threshold that would be below the hazardous level in the air.
Is there a possibility that these levels could rise, especially in southern Gwinnett, as the cloud kind of moves?
It can be very weather dependent. depending on which direction the wind is blowing and the heat of the fire and how the plume moves. The plume can go higher or lower and sit. I don't know that I could answer that really.
Is EPA the agency that's going to be in charge of investigating after this plume has died down and things like that? Investigating what exactly went wrong here? Will that be y'all's?
So not for my portion of EPA, at least. My portion of EPA, I'm in Superfund, an emergency management division, and so our goal is to support the response right now, help us get it cleaned up, get all the material that is there reacting now, get it stabilized or treated to stop the release. That's our primary goal.
What was some confusion yesterday that I was out there myself? First, they said to stay indoors, and then next, they had evacuation. So, can you explain to us why was that the case?
So sometimes they're shifting information. Sometimes you will have an initial shelter-in-place order, and then as you get more information, you may move that to an evacuation order if you find that it's more protective. It's not necessarily confusion. It's just as more information comes in, we're constantly evaluating what's most protective.
And there was some guidance yesterday regarding not using air conditioning. Do you have any update on that? There were a lot of viewer questions wondering why air conditioning might not be the best idea right now.
So when you're sheltered in place, sometimes you may be advised not to run your air conditioner. Running your air conditioner may just increase air infiltration or increase the air exchanges of your house, which may, depending on a leaky door or a leaky window, it may pull air in from outside. So by not running the air conditioning, you're kind of staying, you may be avoiding that.
Let me step in.
Yes.
Just to clarify, this is a debrief on Gwinnett County. So any questions about Gwinnett, we are happy to answer, but we can't assume or answer any questions about Rockdale County. So the folks you see up here, strictly Gwinnett.